Here are your hosts, Derick G and AJ.
What's going on, folks? Welcome back to another episode of the Bloody Water Podcast, UFC Vegas 77. It's not International Fight Week, but it's Holm Fight Week, and I think that matters to the great people in the state of New Mexico, to the Santa Fe folks out there, but more importantly, just to the grand scheme of the bantamweight division, the women's bantamweight division. The door is opened. Amanda Nunes no longer. We need a champion, and believe it or not, folks, this fight, number 3 versus number 10, Maida Bueno Silva, this is really going to determine who's next in line for these opportunities. So I'd love to see it. Breaking it down with me, as always, is the New Mexico native himself, the Santa Fe bomber, AJ, brother. This is New Mexico Fight Week. You might as well call it. Shout out Holly Holm. Give me some thoughts.
You said it yourself, Derick. La Raza is back in the octagon. I couldn't be more excited every time Holly Holm fights. It feels almost as big as the International Fight Week, brother. Everybody's excited to see it. And you're right. There's some moving and shaking that can be done in the division now that the GOATess is gone. It makes for a lot of interesting chess matches to be made coming up soon. Derick, I'm excited for this fight week, brother. How you feeling about the whole card?
I'm feeling good. There's a lot of fights here, folks, that I know we're coming down from International Fight Week. I know the name recognition isn't quite there, but I'll tell you what is there. There's going to be the stars of tomorrow. We talk about it all the time. You can't be bummed out for these cards. Lots of good fights on deck, but I do get it. Holm versus Bueno Silva. People are probably like, huh? What am I watching? Don't worry, folks. We got you covered. That's why you tune in here to your favorite fighter's favorite fight show. And with that being said, AJ, let's take a step back just for a quick moment. As it stands of this recording, 632 subscribers here at the Bloody Water Podcast. Believe it or not, what was it, AJ? Just a couple weeks ago, we just hit 600, right? So that's a quick jump. We love you. We appreciate you. AJ, what are we talking to the supporters?
Woo, folks, we cannot thank you enough, and especially because y'all are commenting on videos. We've been asking for it. We've been saying, we making you money. You have certain takes you want to jump in on. You've been answering, you've been sharing it with your followers, or you're sharing it with your friends. We gotta say it again, man. Share everything you possibly can, because we're your favorite fighter's favorite fight show for a reason. Consistency brings success, and that's what we're all about over here for y'all.
Speaking of consistency, let's take a look down at the scoreboard below for our 2023 head-to-head competition. AJ is in the lead, 69-45-2. I am trailing behind 62-52-2, which goes to show about 5 months remaining in the year. Not the steepest in terms of difference, but you know what that means. I'm right on the heels, brother. And UFC 77, UFC Vegas 77 is going to be the thing that kind of is the catalyst here. So, AJ, let's take a dip on over here. And I didn't upload it yet, but I guess I should pull it up right now. Would you look at that UFC Vegas 77 bet sheet? Now you're going to see a lot of different names here, and I think that's important for you guys to note, but let's talk about what we always talk about, which is the Bloody Water Podcast consensus picks. AJ, I think we got 2 of them this week, man. I want to start off with this one. Norma Dumont. AJ, this is starting to feel like what once upon a time was death, taxes, and Caitlin Chikagian via points. Norma Dumont, man, she just keeps winning, and you keep betting against her, and she keeps winning. We both like Dumont here against Chelsea Chandler. In a sentence or two, just talk about what Norma Dumont represents to the women's featherweight division right now.
I feel like Norma Dumont has finally bloomed into her new home. She feels comfortable now. She's looking better, feeling better, fighting better. That's why I like Norma Dumont in this fight. She feels like she's on a run. You can't deny that momentum.
And I'll just say, in one word, just consistent. She's just doing it, bro. You know what I mean? Other Bloody Water Podcast consensus pick right here. We're talking about Francisco Prado. Apologies, I was just watching my man's tape. I still don't know how to say the name, but the point is he's young, speedy, and got a lot of power. Why do we like him over Azaitar? Excuse me.
The way he can mix it up, Derick. Prado, which I believe it is. If wrong, my bad, homie. Let us know in the comments if we are. But I like the speed and the kicks of Prado. What about you, Derick?
Same exact thing right there. And the jiu-jitsu. My man got some nice jiu-jitsu. We're going to break it down and more. But folks, once again, shameless. Again, we're going to ask you, subscribe. You know what I mean? Hit that subscription. We're about to jump straight into these main card fights. So now is the best time to do it. And then, AJ, last time I checked, my man, you get down on Twitch. Where can the people find you on Twitch?
Twitch.tv/Santa Fe Bomber. Folks, go check it out. The biggest thing, again, jump in that comments, make it a community, talk back and forth. That's why we're over there. That's why we're doing it all, for the love of just the people, me having fun. You get to join in. Make sure you're hitting that follow button as well while you're over there. Twitch.tv/Santa Fe Bomber.
And I will say, I'm not going to say never. You never say never. We're not on Threads, folks. Give us a follow on Twitter. You know what I'm saying? Twitter.com/D496_ for me. AJ, you just Santa Fe bomber across the board, right?
Yes, sir.
My man. All right. With that being said, Holly Holm Fight Week commences. Let's talk about it, baby.
Here's to another main card breakdown, courtesy of your hosts, Derick G and AJ.
The preacher's daughter makes a return, and she does it with a big risk. AJ, it's almost deja vu. We just saw this happen. Robert Whittaker versus Dricus du Plessis. And what did we say the whole time? The favorite, the person who's a former champion, who has been hovering around the title picture the whole time. There's no way the up-and-comer is going to usurp them. Well, we were wrong there, AJ. This is the difficult part about handicapping and wagering fights, is you cannot let emotions factor in, and you cannot let a different fight with a similar background bleed into this one. So we need to talk about it. The preacher's daughter, if you really look at her losses, controversial one against Ketlin Vieira, we talked about that one, Amanda Nunes, Cyborg, Jermaine Durandamy, and Valentina Shevchenko. Those are her only losses since 2016. What case does Mayra Bueno Silva, who has some good wins, right? She's powerful. She's a new face in the division. She's got a new name. What case does she have to really putting it on the preacher's daughter in a way that a lot of other fighters haven't been able to?
I think the big comparison or familiarity that Mayra Bueno Silva is looking to exploit, especially in the narrative going forward, is the jiu-jitsu, is the ground game. A lot of those fighters you're saying, Nunes, Valentina, even JDR, a little less of JDR, but the ground game. They have very strong ground game and very powerful. So if Bueno Silva can take this fight to the ground, control, be the pressure fighter, never let Holly get those ones and twos get going like we know she can, then Mayra Bueno Silva has that instinct, and I think, or has the instincts to win. I do think she also has that drive and that instinctual presence to be that pressure fighter. But can she do it, Derick, on those ones and twos and flying down the pipe? Will she be able to avoid the head kick of Holly Holm?
I mean, it's a tough ask, bro, because that's what I was kind of thinking. I was like, an aggressive fighter like Mayra Bueno Silva kind of lends into the style of a Holly Holm. Holly Holm wants that. People forget that she wasn't just a legendary boxer before she came into the UFC, but she comes into the UFC and becomes a legendary kickboxer, right? Like, she took off Ronda Rousey's head the whole entire 9. But we know that as that kind of blitz in, blitz out, point style fighting, Holly Holm is one of the best to do it. But AJ, I need to bring up a really big point right here, and I think this is the reason why we don't have a lot of consensus picks for this week's card. Scoring, judging, that's one thing we cannot control, and that's one thing that we have seen go back and forth. There's no consistency these days, right? But we have noted that the point fighters, the boring point fighters, quote unquote, according to Chelsea Chandler, who is Holly Holm, Norma Dumont, Jun Young Park, right? Like, all of these people, they're considered boring. And when you have an exciting pressure fighter who is landing the more damaging shots, which is what the criteria is more and more based off of, we're finding more and more that they're winning. So does that not cause any alarm for you? Do you not say, like, yeah, Holly Holm win by decision, layup, but almost too much of a layup to where, you know what I mean? Silva, I think she could really just muddy the situation. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree with you, Derick. If this was maybe, 3-4 years ago, I would say the technique point fighting wins all the day. When Stephen Thompson was reigning, not supreme, but reigning near the top, that's exactly what it was. That era of judging has seemed to switch over now, where if you're a walking punching bag, you still get the control time. Even though you're not doing as much technical overall damage, you have the bigger shots. People are making the expressions, the oohs, the ahs of the crowd. You're kind of getting in favor of the judges now. So it's no longer a layup for this fight with Holly Holm. Now, like you said, Mayra Bueno Silva can make this one messy, put a little defense in there. And I do agree, she will probably have the strength advantage, but can she use that strength against the speed? That's what I think Holly Holm is going to be best at adapting right here, is staying on the outside, skirting the outside, and hitting her when she can't be hit. Looking at even the Ketlin Vieira fight, the Ketlin Vieira split. Holly Holm's face, not that touched up. And I think it's going to be how this fight is as well. Her face, not going to be touched up at all. But again, the judges, the one thing we can't even predict, Derick, I feel like if there was a year-long prediction of how the fighting, like the judges was get going, that would be the most wash out of everybody. Nobody will predict that one.
No, not at all. Here, I'm going to ask you a couple rapid-fire questions right now, and all I want back from you is true or false, all right? Are you ready? All right, brother. Mayra Bueno Silva gets Holly Holm to the ground. Does Holly Holm get up, true or false?
True.
Okay. Mayra Bueno Silva gets initiated in the clinch, the Holm clinch, where she puts her up against the cage, which she's very prone to do. Mayra Bueno Silva capitalizes on the clinch opportunities. True or false?
True.
This fight goes more than 3 rounds. Holm is firmly in the driver's seat. True or false?
True.
Mayra Bueno Silva finishes the fight with a lower amount of significant and total strikes. So significant strikes and total strikes, and can still earn a victory. True or false?
True.
This is what I'm saying right here. This is what muddies this. So, folks, anybody who thinks, oh, this main event, I shouldn't watch it. This is going to obvious. We know what's going to. No, you don't know what's going to happen. I'll tell you that much. This is a very unpredictable fight, man. Mayra Bueno Silva is the more well-rounded fighter. I think you can very fairly argue. But Holm is an extreme specialist in her craft of stand-up and clinch work. And that's where it gets tough. Let's talk about some of these props, AJ. Plus 600 TKO for Holm. Respectable. Understandable. Plus 1,800 TKO for Mayra Bueno Silva. Out of all of these fighters in the top 5, I think she's one of the hardest hitting fighters here, or top 10, excuse me. I think she's one of the hardest hitting fighters. Why is this line so crazy?
Yeah, that's an interesting one too, because I definitely had the club, maybe not club and sub, but the ground and pound of Mayra Bueno Silva being a very dangerous thing. And she can hit you really hard when you're not seeing it. So that's an interesting thing right there. I mean, we all know Holm's not a submission specialist, so that one across the board makes sense. But plus 18 for the TKO on Mayra Bueno Silva is definitely a head scratcher.
And you look at Mayra Bueno Silva's last fight against Lena Landsberg, who was the queen of elbows or something crazy like that, right? She got nasty elbows, nasty striking, nasty boxing, right? If you saw the way she walked her down, pinned her up against the cage, and then she would just kind of wing big body shots, everything was big, right? I think Holm can capitalize on that, but that's where I get confused, to where it's like those big shots. How does that not lend itself to some form of a TKO? I'm just confused here. Is it rightfully so being confused, or do you think that the odds makers know something we don't?
No, it's rightfully so being confused, Derick, because as much as Holm is that technician, she has been in positions where she gets hurt. And Mayra Bueno Silva has the power to make her hurt. So that's where I agree with you. This one's not just black and white, layup or not. It's a lot muddier than you were saying.
And the last point that I have here, and this is the part where this gets you in trouble, watching too many pre-fight interviews and stuff like that. But Holm is always generally pretty robot machine-like. Not too much emotion that goes into it. But it very much was, well, this is the opponent they gave me. I don't care. Yeah, I guess it's a big risk for me, whatever. And then you interview Mayra Bueno Silva, and they say, what do you want to do to Holm? I want to hurt her. And it's like, okay, these are two drastic differences. Do we see a repeat of Whitaker du Plessis in this matchup based off of one very hungry fighter and another fighter who has always felt that they're only one fight away from a title shot?
Well, even Bobby Knuckles was saying he wasn't underestimating DDP, but it seems to be that way. And I'm hoping Holm won't. But Derick, there's always that little bit of rational or irrational thinking. When one fighter is just like, yeah, it's just another scrap. It is what it is. And the other fighter is hungry. It's hard not to bet with the hungry fighter.
Yep, fair enough, man. And with that being said, let's give our picks. AJ, how are you seeing this fight?
I'm going Holm, Derick, and I'm actually going with decision. I think the longer this fight goes, the more it favors Holm. Hopefully the judges will be consistent that night. We'll see. Holm by decision. What about you, Derick? Who are you going with?
I'm rolling with the upset here, man. There's something in the water. I know it's almost sacrilege to go against the preacher's daughter if you're a New Mexico native such as yourself. However, I am granted the luxury of being a California guy. So let me rock with Brazil right here. Mayra Bueno Silva. And I'm calling it on the head. Controversial split decision victory right here. Give it to me, baby. You know what I'm saying? All right, folks. That is your main event. I promise it's going to be a good one. Y'all need to tune in. But with a little bit of a shakeup, let's talk about the next one, man. Azaitar versus Francisco Prado. Now, AJ, when you see two guys right here with not a ton of name recognition, and they were at one point in the co-main, right? Jack Della Maddalena usurped them with all that stuff, right? But they're in the co-main event, theoretically. You have to know that there's fireworks incoming. Like, if you're not a fan and you don't know who these people are and you're confused and you're like, huh? I promise you the UFC would not put them here if it wasn't for good reason. Does this fight go past one round?
Ooh, one round. Yes, but not by much.
Sheesh, 'cause that's what I'm saying. I think the over and under on this one is squarely 1.5 rounds right here. I would not particularly bet the over, maybe not. I don't know, man. These dudes, when I see this fight, I see car crashes, I see collisions. That's all that I see. You have a young, spry Prado who is a fucking masterful kickboxer, and then you got Otman Azaitar who, I mean, it's kind of on the same bar, man. This dude's got crazy power. Both fighters coming off of their first career loss in mixed martial arts. How are they going to fight any differently than normal? Or do they fight even more accustomed to their general game plan? What do you think?
I think they both double down, Derek, and I think that's exactly why we're going to see a car crash on this one. The Otman Azaitar never says die, never takes a back step. Francisco Prado never says die, never takes a back step. What's nice, or I guess what's interesting about this fight, Derek, Prado, as much as he is that bulldozer, he's going to walk you down, he's going to keep the pressure forward. The kicks in the jiu-jitsu game add a different mix, but to that exact same extent, Otman Azaitar, this dude's chin, his relentlessness, and his ability to get the fight where he's in control, even if it's on, pushing up against the cage or whether he's on top of you on the ground. Otman Azaitar has a knack of finding himself in those situations and has the power to get it done. So this is, to me, one of those fire versus fire, but there's some nuances here. Do you see those nuances as well, Derek? Is there something else?
No, I see these nuances as these are two drastically different fighters with deadly violent intentions in every one of their fights. One of the other differences you do have to take into account is the age, right? Prado's 21 years old, bro. 21. I mean, when he turns 26, 27, I mean, goddamn, this guy's going to be a problem. Azaitar, we know what this man is made of. He's 33 years old in the prime of his career. So you have different stages of the career, but at the end of the day, man, both of these guys I feel like are equally as hungry. I don't really see a difference there. The one other thing that I do see as a difference is like Otman Azaitar has this really weird frame, man. He's shorter, he's 5'8", but has a 71-inch reach. So he has a longer reach advantage than Prado, but he's shorter by about 2 inches. So when it comes down to that reach sitting in the pocket, I do feel like Azaitar will be able to get off. I just don't know how long do you anticipate both fighters staying in the pocket, swinging and banging, versus Prado, who after in like the Jamie Malarkey fight, his last fight, right? It wasn't the striking that mixed him up, but once he got taken down once, he was like, okay, we're going to not be able to hang out in this pocket. We're going to have to really, and like the volume basically lowered. So what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it's funny because I think Francisco Prado likes and wants to be in the pocket. He likes that kind of violent sort of fight, but you're right. Once it starts going his opposite direction, then he's looking for other things. So it does give me a little pause for concern because Otman Azaitar, homeboy, literally just never deviates from the plan at all. So like this is going to be an interesting one because if Prado crumbles, then we get to see how he faces that adversity. Otman Azaitar, we know he faces adversity very, very well. So I do think it could be an instance of if Prado is performing well that night, we're not going to have to worry about it. But if it's just slightly off, then we're going to get to see how the young man evolves in the sport.
Absolutely. I mean, both of these guys, they're not the most tested if you really look throughout their careers, right? You know, I'm talking about UFC tested. I'm talking about the top dogs. When you look through, I mean, Azaitar has ran through all of his opponents pretty much except Matt Favola. So he's only gone out of the first round twice. Both of them were 3 rounds, won a decision, and then got a finish in the 3rd round. If you're looking at Prado, on the other hand, at least he has some experience going in and out of, first round, second round, third round. I think he has like 6 submission wins on record. So this is going to be a fun one. But how do you see this one going down? I will note this line is from the open. It is currently sitting at a pick'em. I believe a -110 a pop pick'em.
Yeah, that's more akin to where I was thinking this fight is going, Derek. What I think is going to happen, we're going to have another washing machine style of fight. Both fighters meet in the middle, toe-to-toe, start swinging it out, and then whoever kind of falters from the plan, then they're going to start switching up. Game plan B, that's where the chess match happens. And again, I think I'm with the odds makers on this one. There's no way it makes it past a round and a half. I definitely think the under is more lucrative. Do you see anything specifically popping out for you other than just an absolute barn burner of a brawl, Derek?
No, man. I think when you got 2 deadly finishers like this, sometimes we might have a tentative start. That's where you get scared about that 1.5 rounds. Because what if they just take the whole first round and feeling out process? Second round said, time to swing and bang. Let's get it. I think this fight ends in a finish, but something about this fight in a weird way gives me vibes of this could end in a weird decision. You know what I mean? Like, it's just weird. Like, logic tells you finish. Heart gut tells you decision. I'm going to rock with the TKO. I'm taking the younger Francisco Prado right here. Less experienced, but I just think this man is special. I think he's going to turn into something really, really good, especially with that jiu-jitsu factor on top of it. How you see it?
Yeah, I'm with you, Derek. I do think it's going to finish early. I'm actually going to take the larger one, man. I'm going submission, and I'm still going round one. I think it's going to be a club and sub, like just a late round. The chaos is there. You sneak something in, get a random tap. But I don't even know if Azaitar has lost by submission, to be honest with you, Derek. He hasn't. No. Only by KO. So it'd be a big win for the young man. A little bit of a reach. We'll see. Either way, give me Francisco Prado, submission round one.
I'll tell you, if Prado starts going submission hunting, that's when I'm going to get scared, because you don't want to be on your back against Azaitar. You get your face smashed in. Either way, we see it, Francisco Prado across the board. And AJ, now we move on to this is a tough one right here, man. Albert Duraev versus the Iron Turtle, Jun-Young Park. This is a fun one, man, and I think it's really interesting that the odds makers decided to give so much respect to my boy, the Iron Turtle, minus 155 at open. If we're looking at what the numbers look like right now, minus 160 now. So a slight creep for the Iron Turtle, plus 135 comeback now for Albert Duraev on the live odds. One thing that you have to admit about Albert Duraev, man, is that this dude, even if you might think, he's a grappler, nothing too special, right? I mean, clearly the man is special. This dude finds a way to win. He might get beat up on the feet. It doesn't matter. He finds a way to win, right? And against the Iron Turtle, it's difficult to find that way to win when this dude literally does everything that Albert Duraev does, if not a little bit better. I think striking-wise, Park holds the advantage. Grappling, I think it's a slight wash, maybe a slight lean towards Duraev. How do you see it?
I would agree with you, Derek. Strength, both the same. Speed, arguably Park. But other than that, you hit the nail on the head. The striking, Park. Grappling, I would also give the nod to Duraev on this one. My big question to you, the X factor. Who is the bigger dog in there? Because we know Jun-Young Park, awesome chin. Great chin. Dude's gonna shell up. He's gonna hold his water no matter what. Duraev, I don't ever think we've seen him say quit once. What do you think, Derek?
It's like, how do you even ask a question like that? How do you answer a question like that? I don't know, man. And I think we might find it out this one. I will say this. Strength of, schedule, man. You got the Teflon, or not the, is it the Teflon Don? Teflon the Don, that's who it is, right? Teflon the Don and Chukwi win over that, man. Your boy Eric Anders, Joe Holmes, and Dennis Talulin, right? Those are like big wins for the Iron Turtle. On the other side, the biggest wins you're looking for Albert Duraev that are notable. I mean, bro, Roman Kopylov, that is, you cannot just glance past that. Like, that is a very notable name. And then Chidi Njokuani. If you can get past Chidi Njokuani, and that man's dangerous striking style and the length advantages and everything, man, like, you got to have a dog in you. That's why it's tough. I think these guys are very similar. I think the game plan is going to be very similar. I think it's going to be a lot of striking. I do not think that either man shoots for a takedown voluntarily unless they get dropped. What do you think?
I was exactly with you. I was just thinking about how methodology for this fight's going to go. And because I don't see the Iron Turtle necessarily putting the pressure on you, keeping the pace, but he will be there consistently in your face always, letting you work your angles, letting you do your thing. He's going to be picking the counter shots. Duraev on the same thing. He's going to be on that front foot, trying to create the openings, trying to do that. But I do not see them going to the ground, even though that does favor Duraev. And even if they try and attempt, I do think the Iron Turtle has abilities to keep up or at least get off the ground if you are taken down. Yeah. I just don't see it going to that, Derek. I think these guys are going to provide a very, very fun striking battle. Almost a little bit of an ego check for each man. You know, who's going to actually go for down first? That's what makes this fight fun, because both of them have an absolutely iron will of no quit.
And that's what's funny is that, like, Jun-Young Park, right? Like, he's very soft-spoken, doesn't really speak English, right? And he's got a very, like, no beard or nothing, very just kind of like childlike demeanor. But that's a mean guy right there, bro. Like, do not let that fool you. That man is mean. And that's why I see that plus 425 TKO is viable, because his bread and butter, though, for the TKO is not standing TKOs. It's beat your face in with the, control time and just smash your face in until I get the finish. Like, that's how he does it across the board. I find that hard to believe he can do that against Albert Duraev. You know what I'm saying? What do you think? Yeah,
no, 100%. No, I was looking at the Duraev TKO prop while you're down there, just because I agree. Jungyoon Park, 425, makes a little bit of sense. He's all about ground and pound, and if he does get the control on you, he will consistently stay there and never let off the gas. The Duraev TKO at 1100 is just it piqued my interest because I can also see that happening of the same instance, Derek. He gets you against the fence, beating you up, takes you down, keeps beating you up. You stand up, he keeps beating you up against the fence, just consistently beating you up over 3 rounds. Or at least at some point, then getting the finish just because of, the ref stepping in because it's too much. I can see that TKO happening. How viable do you think that prop is?
I like that. I think the reason why the odds are as they are is because he's much more of a submission threat from that spot than just beat your face in. Some guys, that's just the way they get down. They're like, I'll just take the sub instead. Look at Bo Nickel for an example. Why beat your face in when I can just grab the choke? But listen, man, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter how they get it done. If they get it done in the first place is going to be the question, because I think this goes to decision, bro. I find it hard to see a finish right here. I think it's going to be a very close, tight decision. I'm going to go in favor of Albert Duraev. I like the camp that he's at over at, I believe he's at Extreme, if I'm not mistaken. Don't discount Korean Top Team because the Iron Turtle, like I said, this man is a monster training partners. But I think Extreme will have him ready enough to be able to take on this test. Clearly, he's an underdog, so, I'm rolling with the dogs here. But give me Albert Duraev, give me a decision. How do you see it?
Ooh, Derek, rolling with the dogs. Hey, man, sometimes that is the way to go and how to actually start pulling into the lead.
Yeah.
I'm going Jungyoon Park, Derek, and I also see this going to a decision. I think this is going to be a lot closer to a fight, a more drawn-out fight than pure excitement. So I'm going Jungyoon Park, and I'm going decision.
All right, fair play. AJ, man, it's a weird year. I feel like this year I've gone against all of my favorite fighters that I've been rooting for all of this time. And I don't know, man. That's why you can't be emotional in this game. You have to try to think as logically as possible because that is what this game is predisposed on. With that being said, we move on to the Norma Dumont, who has quickly become a fan favorite here at the Bloody Water Podcast. The Norma Dumont versus Chelsea Chandler contest. Now, AJ, you see some rankings next to these two fighters' names. These aren't real rankings. This is the featherweight division. There aren't even 15 fighters in the featherweight division. These are clearly bantamweight rankings, but they keep having them fight at 145 pounds. Either way, I think the context leading into this matchup is not about styles. It's more about trash talk, man. Norma Dumont, in my opinion, appears to be overlooking her opponent. She says Chelsea Chandler is basically childish. She's not serious in the cage, and she's going to be in for a rude awakening, more or less, right? I took my own liberties on there. Chelsea Chandler, on the other hand, says, Norma Dumont's a boring point fighter, and I'm going to go beat her up. So, AJ, you got two very contrasting styles. We know what Chelsea Chandler can do. However, my first question to you, believe it or not, is why do you think Chelsea Chandler has held this number with such little activity? She's been ranked for a while. Is it just a very incredibly shallow division, or is the UFC trying to push Chelsea Chandler? What do you think?
Oh, well, actually, probably a little bit of both, Derek, but I do think it's the more overarching answer is it's a very shallow division. Nobody else in there. You got to fill numbers. I'm surprised she's not a top 10 fighter, there's literally not many people to pull from, and a lot of the people that are on that list haven't fought in a while or even in that division in quite a while. So, yeah, I definitely think the UFC is trying to push Chandler, especially for the vocal aspect she presents, as well as the kind of fighter she is. She's very exciting, very powerful. We all saw the knockout of Julia Stoliarenko. So there's reasons why I can see the UFC pushing her, but I don't think she's going to be able to bully Norma Dumont like that, Derek. Like I was saying in the intro, Norma Dumont has fell into her place in this weight class. She's heavier, she's bigger in all the best ways. She's stronger while still maintaining that speed and all that knowledge she's accrued over the fight game. It makes it a very, very challenging mountain to climb for Chelsea Chandler. Yeah. Does she have the tools in the tool belt to kind of navigate those hills, Derek? What do you think?
I don't know, man. I know she's got the vicious power. I know she can be explosive and exciting, and that's fun and that's awesome. But Norma Dumont has become a real tactician of controlling a fight and letting the fight play out the way she wants it to play out. You rarely see Norma Dumont backed up and uncomfortable and shaky and oh, what's happening? You rarely see that, if ever. And I'm talking about, you're looking at the names of Carol Hossa, Danielle Wolf. Let's skip past that one. Macy Chasson, she lost a split right there. That was a close, against a really big fighter. That was a close decision. Aspen Ladd got that one done. Felicia Spencer, Ashley Evans Smith, who's making her return on this card on the prelims. Yeah, you remember there was some questions when she got knocked out by Megan Anderson. That was, I believe, was the UFC debut potentially. But either way, Norma Dumont's been doing it for a while, and if it was after like 1 or 2 fights, there's still questions. But this is like, bro, 5, 6 fights. It's like she's a staple in this division now. I just think that I don't know. Is this reminiscent to a degree of Bueno Silva versus Holly Holm? You have the strategic point fighter who knows how to win versus the person who can make it ugly. Is the question that you're asking, can Chelsea Chandler make this fight ugly? Is that kind of what you're asking?
It is actually what I'm asking, because I think that's the way she needs to get it done. Mm-hmm. And also to that aspect, what does Chelsea Chandler do when she can't make it dirty? Because I feel like Norma Dumont can take all the punches and still maintain that control. Where does the ego of Chelsea Chandler go? Where does the game plan go after that one? I think she has the ability in that first round and a half to make it dirty. But after that, what?
I'm not sure, man. So that's where we have to start like really drawing into it. Because Norma Dumont, the one thing that we have seen from her that is slightly troubling is a lack of urgency to finish a fight. Like they feel like, I could just point him out. And then what have we seen before? Is you wait, you're pointing, Kamaru Usman-esque, I'm pointing, doing my thing, I'll be a little aggressive, and then you get caught. And then it's too late. So you don't want to even give your opponent those openings. Is that something that you're very concerned about in this matchup?
Yes, but more so in the early rounds, in the early minutes of round 1, round 2, when Chelsea's coming out fresh. That's when I'm a little more nervous about it. I just think the longer this fight goes, Norma Dumont's going to be able to put the pressure on Chandler and have her feel that strength that I've been talking about. And then that's when the mind games are going to start to play. Like, oh, yeah, I'm a boring fighter. We'll do something about it. And you're really starting to get that lactic acid build up. Your emotions are high, so your energy level's being depleted. Yeah. I think the veteran style that we've seen other UFC veterans employ will be perfect for Norma Dumont right here.
Yeah, my only hope is that Norma Dumont is indeed not overlooking her opponent. But I just, listen, I see it for Norma Dumont. Give me a decision. And maybe I'm misinformed for Chelsea Chandler. But I even tried looking up right now. I was like, what can I pull up? What can I dig a little extra right now just to put some icing on the cake for Chelsea Chandler? You don't really see anything. See, she's a purple belt in jiu-jitsu under Cesar Gracie. That's pretty cool, But, that's not what your bread and butter is. Your bread and butter is knocking these fools out. So, Norma Dumont decision. How you see it, AJ?
Ooh, it's hard not to go with the decision, especially looking at those props, Derick. For some reason, I have that feeling, that gut feeling that's saying Norma Dumont will get the TKO finish just for all the kind of smack talk that's been going on. Betting the folks don't bet on that plus 1,200 if you are. Yeah, give me decision. That's a smart bet right here. Norma Dumont by decision. I think she'll just control her the entire time and win the fight, classic Norma Dumont style.
Brother, she hasn't finished a fight since 2017. Come on, man. You would hope, and maybe that's the one fight where she finally turns it around and gets the finish. But the safe play here, decision, Norma Dumont. And we'll move on to the opening bout, man. Nazim Sadykhov versus Terrence McKinney. A lot of people, they're a little confused. They're like, why does Sadykhov get the first? He gets the A side. And number 2, Terrence McKinney, plus 130 underdog. People are a little confused. Now, AJ, we have to address the situation. If you're a Terrence McKinney or a Terrence McKinney supporter, you're like, this is madness. Why is my man an underdog? It doesn't make sense. However, you also have to take into consideration Terrence McKinney made one of the hottest splashes into the UFC that you could possibly make as a prospect, right? Immediately jumped into contention and then had to fight some of these stronger, more skilled guys. And Terrence McKinney throughout his career, if you followed it or even look back in hindsight, has always been a live by the sword, die by the sword type of fighter. So when you're willing to get down, you're not always going to come out on top. Now, if you are going to be saying a couple of sentences based on why Terrence McKinney should not be overlooked in this fight, what would you describe?
Not every night is a bad night when you're a fighter. Sometimes you step in, it's just not your night. That's what we saw with the Bonfim performance. It just wasn't him. It wasn't like that. T-Rex is not going to step in there and let that happen a second time. Yeah. This guy's explosive. He's energetic. He has the potential to really start climbing that rank. And I think that right there is what does it for me, Derick. What about you?
For Terrence McKinney, I'll say he is one of the best first-round fighters the UFC has to offer. And if these guys go at it the way that they go about most of their fights, it's hard to really see this one go past about a round and a half. But then again, AJ, that's where the questions start coming in. Because Terrence McKinney can starch anybody really, really quickly, right? But we've also seen that live by the sword, die by the sword mentality lead to putting everything out there. And if you can't quite get the finish, you ain't got nothing for rounds 2 and rounds 3. So that's where the problem now lies, where people who have been burned betting on Terrence McKinney saying, well, bro, if you ain't got it 3 rounds, I don't know if I could bet on you. I love you first round. But can you give me more than that? Now, the Bonfim fight, I will say, character-wise or just like history-wise, it didn't really fit the bill. It didn't fit what a Terrence McKinney fight normally looks like. The Ghost Pepper, Eric Gonzalez, that win was good. Did it age well, AJ? Not quite. Would you agree?
I'd agree with you, Derek.
And then what else do you got? You got Drew Dober, where you beat him until you didn't because the man's got a block iron head and just doesn't go away. And then the big impressive win was the Matt Frivola. You steamrolled the steamroller in 2 shots, and then the Smile Killer, right? Faraz Ziam, right? Those are big wins. Now T-Rex, AJ, do you know why Terrence McKinney has that nickname?
No, I've never actually looked into it.
I mean, let's just kind of like thought experiment, right? T-Rex, what are their characteristics known for?
Instantly, I think little arms, but obviously not him. Yeah,
no,
but
No,
power.
you're right. Aggressive, powerful monster with very little tiny arms. Well, Terrence McKinney has his tiny 73-inch reach arms, right? But my man looked like an anaconda versus Sadykhov, who got like a 69-inch reach. So he's not dealing with those problems. He'll be able to get his strikes off in the pocket. Let's talk about game plan and X's and O's, AJ. How does this fight play out?
Ooh, man, this is actually one of the closer fights. I was expecting this one to creep to a pick'em, Derek, because Nazim, homeboy, brings the fight consistently. He's going to be in your face, and the same thing for T-Rex. He is always going to be that explosive, exciting fighter. So I'm actually expecting Terrence to be looking for the counter strikes, looking to pick his poison, choose his shots wisely as Nazim is being drawn in. We even saw in the Evan Elder fight. He was able to be dropped. He's able to be put down. He's able to get hurt. And thankfully for Nazim, he did win that fight. He was able to come back and get it. But with somebody that has a crack that Terrence McKinney presents, it's going to be very hard to eat one on the jaw and keep coming. Do you think he has that kind of durability? And is there any other X's and O's that you think are going to be exploited besides just a classic back and forth, maybe some clinch game? But I don't really expect much wrestling or jiu-jitsu going on in this fight. Do you, Derek?
Bro, that was my immediate worry, is that he ate some shots against Elder and just ate them. And it went right through the guard, and he just like, all right, let's keep going. And he got dropped and all that stuff. And it's like, you can't do that against Terrence McKinney. That is a recipe for getting knocked out. So really, the reason why I like Sadykhov here is because he has the ability to control the fight, to corral you against the cage for 3 rounds, for 3 full dominant rounds in your face, no matter where you're at, like you had just mentioned. But he also has other aspects to his game, right? Now, Evan Elder, would you argue, AJ, is a bigger takedown threat than Terrence McKinney?
Oh, yeah.
So when you saw that and you had the threat of that guy who can take you down, who did take him down, and he was able to get right back up to his feet, it feels like that threat gets eliminated a little bit against McKinney. So Sadykhov will feel a little more confident getting his shots off, right? Actually opening up a little bit more. Who falls first? I mean, we're going to ultimately figure that out at the end of the day. But I will say that Sadykhov, man, like, this is not a guy that you particularly want to play with here. Do you see anything that lends the odds makers to saying minus 155 Sadykhov, or do you think that the line is completely skewed?
No. I think it's close, especially a lot of people, you said yourself, Derek, a lot of people are jaded as a Terrence McKinney better, especially in that last fight, him not having his performance the way he normally does. Him acknowledging it, mentioning it, taking accountability of it speaks volumes in our book, but in the bettor's mind, not a lot of people like that. So I can see where the underdog aspect really comes into play. And going back to what you were saying, we'll see who falls first. I have some weird feeling, Derek, that whoever falls first will probably win the fight. And Nazim is a perfect example of that. He can get cracked on the chin, get back up to win the fight. Same thing with T-Rex. As long as he's not eating a flying knee, homeboy will be in the fight no matter what. Thankfully, I don't really see Nazim throwing too many flying knees. What about you, Derek?
I mean, listen, I'm not counting it out. 155 pounds, these boys are ready to get it. I agree with you, though, man. In that weird twist of fate, somehow, some way, the fighter who suffers adversity first probably will turn around and actually get the job done, or it'll just be like a one-way affair where it's just a straight steamrolling. We can't predict the future, but we could do our best to try. And with that being said, AJ, only thing that we have left is just to talk about how it gets done. I'm going to roll with Nazim Sadykhov here. Not that I'm a Terrence McKinney hater or anything like that. I think he's fun. I think he's really exciting. But you can guarantee Sadykhov will be there for 3 rounds. You cannot guarantee that about McKinney. So I'm more or less taking the safe bet. Give me Sadykhov. Give me a TKO. How you see it?
Ooh, Derek, I'm also going TKO, but I'm going on the other side of the cage right here. Give me T-Rex, Terrence McKinney. I'm looking for that counter striking. Nazim stepping in, eating a left hook, eating a right uppercut, whatever it is. I think Terrence McKinney has that pop and to prove why he is where he is and why he's fought all the greats that he has. Yep. Looking for T-Rex, Terrence McKinney, TKO, knockout number 1. Or round 1, excuse me.
Round 1. All right. Well, there you have it, folks. That is going to be your UFC Vegas 77 slate now. If I didn't mention it earlier, I'm pretty sure I did. I do apologize. Late-minute replacements here and shakeups on the card. Jack Della Maddalena gets inserted to the co-main event. How he's not the main event, I don't know. It's probably marketing reasons more than anything else. But he did get added, so we didn't cover that one. Not sure if we'll cover it on the post-show, but that's neither here nor there. With that being said, folks, the most anticipated segment of the program, talking about the unknowns of today's, but the stars of tomorrow. We are indeed speaking about the sleepers, baby.
It's time for some fight night.
If you ain't paying attention, you're going to sleep on me and I'm going to wake you up.
All right, AJ, well, you know what time it is. We got to go ahead, bring up the Tapology sheet, and we need to talk about some sleepers here. Now, I'm going to let you go ahead and have the privilege of going first, my friend, because you have a scrap on hands, and I think that we need to talk about it. AJ, who is your sleeper for UFC Vegas 77?
Now, folks, I cheated a little bit by the sleeper because we all know Tyson Nam, and I got Tyson Nam versus Azat Maksum. Now, like I said, Tyson Nam, a very well-known fighter, at least in these parts. Homeboy's dangerous. He has a little bit of up and down record. You can see losses, win-losses, a couple wins. But he very much is a fighter's fighter. He's going to be there for the scrap. He's never going to say no. And he's going up against a very, very dangerous prospect. Flight out of Central Asia. This dude, Maksum, and I can almost guarantee I'm pronouncing that wrong. So if I am, folks, hit me in the comments. Let me know. Either way, man, this is going to be a very fun fight. You can see down below, he's the 420 favorite out of Kazakhstan. Massive, massive fan base. But what I like is what Derek's highlighting right there. Both of the TKO props are very similar. I mean, yeah, it's 55% and 11%, but you can see in the bars. Far be it the math because it's all skewed because of the percentages, but they're very close. A lot of people are thinking a knockout can happen for either camp, and that's exactly why I like this fight. It's pure power, pure speed, very exciting. Neither of these guys are going to take a backward step. This is a classic barnyard scrap. I'm very excited for this one, Derek. What do you think? I'm excited to hear about yours, Derek. I'm glad you got to yours first on the Discord because I was going to make that my sleeper as well. But what do you think about this one?
I'll tell you what, man. Both of these guys, Nam, Maksum, they got pop in their shots, and I think that when you're looking at 125 pounds, you're not often thinking about a finish, but in this one, stay tuned, folks. Don't blink. That's what I got to say about that one. Now, AJ, you know I had to bring up, I feel like I kind of cheated in a way with my sleeper too, because these are not unknown guys. Geronimo Valdez versus, oh yeah, that guy we were just talking about, Evan Elder, right? Yeah, guess what? They get another opportunity to go at it. You got to imagine Evan Elder is watching the guy that just beat him on a, main card slot, opening up the bout. He's probably feeling away, probably wants to get a good win here. But look at the similarities right here. Both fighters coming off of 2 losses right here. And I think that Evan Elder, though he is incredibly hungry, and I imagine he's going to want to make a statement, Genaro Valdez, man, this dude has seen nasty grapplers, nasty strikers. I think he's just about ready for anything that these guys have to offer. And if you look in the grand scheme of things right here, man, look at these wins. You got knockout, submission, knockout. You got knockout, knockout, decision. You got finishers here. You got well-rounded folks, and I don't need to sell you any more on this fight other than these guys, without a shadow of a doubt, are going to be your main card fighters come 2024, 2025, 2026. This is your opportunity to get in on them now. You got a fighter fighting out of Mexico, hot spot right here for MMA right now, and then you got America's own Evan Elder. So the last thing we need to take a look at is right down here. Would you look at that? Finishes on deck. Now, if a decision happens, we're thinking Elder, but we know Elder also likes to fight violent. AJ, what do you think about the sleeper, bro?
Like I said, Derek, I would have made this one my sleeper when I was looking at it, because this fight is going to be fun, folks. Power, precision, everything you want. And Derek is right. We said it once, we'll say it again. We'll say it a million times. We're your favorite fighters' favorite fight show for a reason. And we're highlighting all of these new sleepers, new people that are going to be your stars in the very near future. Both of these sleepers we have, we can see them being exactly that.
100%. And with that being said, instantly jumping into the prelims, baby. Don't got really a ton to talk about here, but a couple fights that I do want to note. Ashley Evans-Smith, she's making her return. I honestly, AJ, because when I saw her, I was like, she's still in the UFC? When the last time that she fought? You have to go take a look, right? The last time she fought was against Norma Dumont back in 2020. Before that, one fight in 2019. Before that, last win, Beck Rollins back in 2018. Beck Rollins, what a name. Haven't heard that name in quite some time. Listen, man, at the end of the day, things have not been looking good since like 2017 for Ashley Evans-Smith. Very much in the era of the Reebok for Ashley Evans-Smith. But when you have a fighter who decides to make their return, 6-5, I mean, against Eileen Perez, bro, like that's not a fun fight you particularly want to take, in my estimation, but a fight is a fight. What do you think about this fight to open up the card?
It's an interesting one, Derek, because I did the same thing. I was like, Ashley Evans-Smith, that name sounds so familiar, but I couldn't quite put my finger on it. So I did the same digging you did. And I was like, oh, yeah, this makes a lot more sense. Going up against Perez is an interesting one. I'm excited to see how well prepared Evans-Smith is for this fight.
And I think it's funny, too, because she's not an unknown fighter, bro. She was a very popular fighter. She's in the UFC game, dog. Like, I mean, you got to have some level of rapport to be able to, you know what I mean, pull that off. Just something to watch out for. Another fun fight right here, Austin Lingo versus my guy Costa. Man, this dude right here is nasty, bro. I'm calling it right now. I think he can get a submission victory over Austin Lingo right here. It's not going to be easy, but this guy comes to scrap. Do you like this matchup? Do you have any thoughts on it at all?
I do like this matchup. I actually like Austin Lingo, but in this fight, Costa presents some very dangerous challenges for him. And I believe he's a lot younger, too. I forget the exact age. I don't have it pulled up. But Costa will be very dangerous coming forward, man.
Absolutely. And when we're looking at it, yeah, 26 versus 29. Not too bad.
3 years. Not bad.
Yeah, but he is the favorite. Pretty heavy favorite. Almost a minus 200 favorite right there. So that'll be a fun one. And then the last one that I wanted to talk about, this will be an interesting one right here, folks. Nunes versus Dudakova. Apologies if I mispronounce it. That's going to be a fun one. This one right here. Tucker Lutz versus Melsik Bagdasaryan. Love me some Tucker Lutz, but I'm really more concerned about my guy right here, which I do peg to be, if not a future champion, then a future like top 5 fighter, Melsik Bagdasaryan. I think he's going to be very nasty. Coming off of a loss to Josh Kulabau, which I think was going to be a big wake-up call. Sorry, I didn't show it right there, Josh Kulabau. Big wake-up call in this division right here, man. But at the end of the day, I just want to talk about this, man. Give me a estimation. Give me a prediction. What do you think the career of Melsik Bagdasaryan turns into?
Yeah, I'm in line with you, Derek. If not champion, he will be a perennial top 5 fighter. Folks, remember the name Bagdasaryan because he will be in the lights for quite a long time. I see him personally getting the belt, getting the strap, maybe not holding on to it, maybe a title defense, 2, something like that. But he will be a perennial, maybe like a JDS, if you will, where he's just always a problem and always in there. What do you think?
He has to do it soon. That's really the only caveat. My man is 31 years old. He's not a 22-year-old kid. 7-2, just lost to Josh Kulabau, so that did set him back. But I think that the Armenian fighter right here can get some real pull moving forward, and I'm rooting for him. I'll just say that. And with that being said, AJ, what a show. UFC Vegas 77. We did it, bro. It's not International Fight Week, like I said, but we did it. And this is going to be a pivotal week because this week is leading us up to one of my favorite weeks of the entire year. A Tom Aspinall fight week, baby. Hey, folks, if you haven't been following this program as closely as you absolutely should, then you probably don't know. I'm one of the biggest Tom Aspinall fans from the jump. We had our little rivalry, and AJ, I think I won this rivalry right here. It was the Dawkins brothers on my man AJ's side, the Aspinall camp on my side. I was going with Aspinall even though he wasn't getting the love. And where have we found ourselves, AJ? Just give me some thoughts on Tom Aspinall moving forward.
And that's exactly wrapping the perfect little bow on this entire episode, Derek, because we were talking about consistency before. You can't hate on the consistency of the Tom Aspinall camp. You're right, Derek. He took my boys down. My doc is bros. It is what it is, Derek. But Tom Aspinall's the real deal fighter for sure. And I think taking that, the old school hare versus rabbit versus hare, tortoise versus hare, the saying. Yeah. Taking the tortoise approach with Tom Aspinall seems to be providing more beneficial than not. You got to take your licks when you can. The Tom Aspinall's a good fighter, man.
And Marcin Tybura is going to be a good test coming back. I mean, Aspinall finally got a shot to fight Blades, and what happened? His knee popped, beginning of the fight, and that fight didn't even happen. It's a tough go, man. But we got a lot to look forward to. So, folks, once again, drop a subscription if you have not yet. Tell a friend to subscribe, and tell a friend to tell a friend. You know what time it is. It's the Bloody Water Podcast, favorite fighter's favorite fight show. You can follow my man AJ on Twitch, twitch.tv/Santa Fe Bomber. You want to follow me on social media? I'd much rather you just subscribe here first, but if you feel ever so inclined, follow me on Instagram, D496, on Twitter at D496, _ after. AJ, any other words before we hop up out of here?
Folks, we've been saying it for a while now, and the comments have been ringing true. The people have been coming back. If we're winning you money, you don't owe us. But I'm going to say you owe us. Make sure you hit that subscription button down below. Share it with your friends. Make sure you're not being a bad friend. Support your people. Make sure if you're winning money, so are they. And then at least hit us back, share with your friend. Let us know what you're doing. So jumping in the comments, hitting the subscription button, and always joining me on Twitch. We'll be breaking down next week's fights throughout the week, so it's going to be a lot of fun. Check it out. This card is going to be a lot of fun, Derek. I'm very excited. Holly Holm back in the game. You already know. New Mexico repping.
Yeah, that's right. And hey, nobody likes a bad friend. You know what to do. All right, folks, that's it for us. And until next time, peace.